All right, welcome everyone with Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Shinsekai Yori, episode 17. Last episode. Letters and Dreams.
Letters and dreams, hallucinations, portents of the future.
Yep.
And just goodbye.
Right.
Goodbye.
The group is down to 2.
Probably won't see them again, or if you do, it's going to be a bad thing, and it won't necessarily be anytime soon.
Nope.
Yeah,
Nope.
Be under completely different contexts, and yeah.
But now we truly do know why Saki said it would have been better if Maria had never been born.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's potentially some positives here. They're going to, at the very least, be able to live their lives, and they'll probably survive.
Yeah.
For the most part. At least a decent
just
bit.
convince, the people back home that, hey, you did your best, and that's,
Yeah, they're probably going to be able to do that. It's just, whether or not
they believe the lie of them being dead.
No. They'll absolutely be able to convince them of that. It's the thing of where they don't need to convince them of that right now. It's the thing of where, because of the whole thing with the potential bones being hidden and stuff like that, that once they end up looking, that'll eventually be solved there. But the bigger thing is more that whether or not they'll end up seeing any kind of results of this in the future of them being out there leading to, problematic individuals being born, or just themselves losing themselves in the wilderness and stuff.
And given, Saki, that you may end up living for a very long time, Yeah.
The story does not have to stay with them as kids.
Nope.
So, all right, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. Wow.
Oh my god.
We time skipped.
And we got...
They're adults.
They're adults, and we got a big old fight.
We got
and
monster rat politics and shady dealings on a kind of a small nation level, which is
like this is an intrigue anime now.
Yeah.
Like,
we kind of shifted things, but because it's all happening effectively off screen, the big thing right now is that the relationships that Saki and Satoru had with different individual members of these monster rat colonies and such could be still kind of leading to shit like this happening.
Yep.
And they might feel personally responsible for it, but they also might have some insights that they can't necessarily share
to
their peers because of what they did when they were kids.
Right. He helped you cover up the fact that, Maria and Mamoru aren't actually dead. So you can't, he's got you, right?
Yeah.
If he goes down, you do too.
Yeah.
You know? And he hasn't leaned on them, but...
Yeah.
But...
Yeah. There's a big fear I have, basically, that this is the kind of thing where it's this leads to a rebellion of sorts, and it's not about whether or not humanity can stop them, because obviously they can,
right.
But it's the idea that the monster rats are effectively people, and by all intents and purposes, the fact that the humans can just say, oh, and if they break the rules, we'll just go wipe out a whole bunch of them and stuff. Well, they're doing all that for you just fine, but they're also pulling the rug out from under not just each other, but under you,
right,
with how they maneuvered this so certain groups would survive and outlast this whole conflict.
Right.
Which seems to be only naturally coming about because the colonies are allowed to consolidate their power into these alliances of a number of colonies, and thus then they look at the group and go, oh, what should we do next? Expand. Oh, but there's other monster rats out there. We'll figure that out.
We'll deal with them.
Yeah.
It's a minor inconvenience.
Oh my god.
I love that, both Kiromaru and Yakomaru, I didn't trust either of them. For different reasons, right? Yakomaru, because he's obviously the schemer, right? Kiromaru, he's got ambitions. Like he's got like he enjoys this shit. Like that all those times where you would see like the grin on his face, you know, that bit of a smirk where it's like, oh yeah, this is going exactly the way I want it to.
Yeah.
And yet
He lost.
He lost.
He lost horribly.
Right. He lost off screen.
Yep.
Like
meaning they're actually all wiped out.
mm-hmm.
It's
Yep.
not just a, vague esoteric kind of thing of, oh, they lost so many in the fight and then the fight's over. It's
they won the fight, but something else happened.
something else happened.
And the army is gone.
Yeah, wiped out.
Yep.
I have thoughts, but I am waiting to see if they find any way to tie this back to Maria and stuff, because I feel like there's got to be some connection there with the idea of having Yakomaru, right? The little one?
Yeah.
Yeah, Yakomaru having some kind of like knowledge or communication,
Right.
or even just using his information that he learned about the gods in there, trying to hide something, and he's like, okay, cool, I'll leverage that. Because he's always been trying to figure out a way to have the gods fight for him. Like,
Yes.
that's
Like
been his thing
Since the beginning.
for a long time now.
And what's crazy about this is that might have literally started when they ran out on their own.
Yeah.
And then he just realized, oh wait, there are gods here. They're impressionable. I
well,
can
not just that,
guide them.
but
you know, like
they literally did. Satoru fought.
yeah, no,
and
right.
Did that all himself.
And I wouldn't be surprised if all of this stuff is happening is because he
He saw
realized,
that,
yeah,
yeah.
he saw that, and he was able to make Satoru fight that one time. So he's like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I've got ideas. I can work this system.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, it's
and then just the whole
terrifying.
idea that they've all but confirmed that they have a false Minashiro at this point, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, unless it's a red herring where it's like they actually have something different, you know? Like, with the technology that they have guns with like not just like black powder, shove the black powder and put the bullet in and fire, like bullets that
Yep.
they load into these things. Like,
Yep.
that's crazy.
Yep.
That's insane.
Yeah. And man, I don't think this story is going to lead to the monster rats kind of winning and taking their place in the next kind of evolutionary cycle of like, because that's the thing.
Life on Earth.
Life on Earth. Yeah, exactly. Because like,
They're not humans.
because they're not humans, but they're totally
they're
not
sapient and intelligent.
Yeah, they're
and,
totally not humans. It's
Right.
the whole thing of like, they might not be anymore, but they probably were.
Well,
you
and
know.
we kind of got like a very casual bit of confirming of how the monster rats come about. And yes, it is because of interference by the humans.
Yes.
And so that
Yes,
could
and it's the,
theoretically
were they just animals?
Right.
They were
Exactly.
They were yeah.
Yeah. Was it at some point way a long time ago they were humans and they got fused, changed, whatever, something happened, or it's just
No,
humans were good
humans
enough at
played
fucking
God.
with things and playing God.
And wanted basically a slave race.
And they got it.
And they did that. Like, both are equally fucked and
Yeah.
both are equally likely. Like, in a lot of ways.
Yep.
They both are the kind of dark, fucked up shit that would come from the darker ages of humanity post, psychic awakening.
And so then, of course, yeah, they're referred to as the gods. And then the other ones are referred to as the Grim Reapers and stuff. Because, like,
The
sitting there...
bureaucracy of, like,
Right.
you need to submit a war form, basically.
Yep. And
Yep.
then just sitting there watching the slaughter
Taking notes.
with a notepad. That,
Yeah.
like, this show is delightfully fucked up at points. And this episode, I feel like, took it to a different level because before we had...
Well, they were kids.
They were kids, right? They were raging against the system. They didn't fully understand what the system would do. It was
Yeah.
the specific things of, oh shit, what they do about like ogres and karmic demons and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
But now it's the no.
They
A day in
succumbed.
the life. Work on a Tuesday.
They're a part
you
of
know.
the system now.
Yep.
Yeah. In some ways, Maria and Mamoru leaving,
They made the right choice.
they,
Right?
they well, not
No.
necessarily they made the right choice, but they basically took the choice away from Saki and Satoru because it's like, well, if we show any signs of,
Yeah.
going against the
Then-
system,
then we're
going
gonna
to
be
end
wiped
up
out
like
too.
them.
Yeah.
So let's play within it. Let's do what we can.
Right. And now, what do you do in this situation where you're like, these monster rats, and Yakomaru specifically, could be a problem, but the thing is that part of the reason why I know that he's probably a problem is because of my interactions with him that I can't let the society know about.
Right. Yeah.
And what do you do?
What do you do?
That's a pickle.
That's a huge pickle.
Like-
I also really like the idea that there's some kind of melodrama going on right now with Saki and Satoru, because in the time skip kind of thing, we need to reintroduce the new dynamic. And if we just show by the way that they interact with each other that it's awkward, one of the things that I immediately came to mind of was that the petty argument is kind of irrelevant as to what it is. It's just showing a new status quo.
Sure.
But
those kinds of things happen.
right. But one of the things that I thought would immediately happen is we can't be shown to be too buddy-buddy, because if they sense that we're really close and doing things secretly together like when we were kids,
That would be a problem.
that would put false, suspicion on us, because we're not doing that. But it could look like that.
Sure, and so we end up being like more antagonistic towards each other in order to make
Because-
sure that that's shown and visible. And,
Right. Or just the nature of having to kind of deal with the fact that they're close friends and yet they both try to keep things at arm's length could have ended
Yeah.
up with them building resentment. And then
Yeah.
it just a natural consequence is no, things are awkward now. We tried to have a system for
Yep.
how we would
Yep.
interact, and it kind of fucked up the friendship.
Right.
They're not distant, but it's that when they're close, things are just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's clearly because there's also still some slight tension there of of maybe an attraction kind, I would say, probably just because they spent a lot of time together, and also they were kind of intimate at times
Right.
together. So that is literally how the previous episode ended.
Exactly. So.
It's a whole mess.
I feel like
and it's fun because we'll get to reintroduce ourselves to that as
Exactly.
we go into this newer type of story, which is less about thriller, escaping the higher ups of the adults and stuff, but more as parts of the system, how do we maintain it?
Yeah.
If we know it's already fucked.
Because we've kind of this is the second time skip that we've had. We had the 2-year time skip earlier.
Right.
That was definitely a change in the status quo. But, because puberty and all that stuff, right?
Absolutely.
But this really
This
feels
is the
like it's a
10-year time skip,
whole
yeah.
reintroduction to the show.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, I'm so excited for what we get for the rest of it. But at the same time, there's that part of me that's like, okay, they did a 10-year time skip. Now, when do we get that 30-year time skip?
I think the 30-year time skip will
It's like at the very end.
I think the 30-year time skip will be at the very end. I thought that we were going to get some kind of time skip like this, and it would be longer, but it would be further away. I thought that we were going to get a time skip in probably the next 4 episodes.
Right, like
And
having
then the last 4 episodes or 3 episodes or something like that would be basically just what it's like as being,
Sure.
adults in this whole thing. And it's the...
But there's still story happening after a big time skip.
Right, and it'd be more the how do you bear the burden of truth, basically, of
Sure.
the extra knowledge that you have from being adults. But in a lot of ways, it feels like that's not where the conflict lies. The conflict lies right now into how do you reconcile the choices of your past and the
Right.
consequences that are spilling forth from that as they come up now as adults, where you have more power, more knowledge, more influence and ability to affect things, but also because you can't directly involve yourself and thus show your connection to the events as they're happening now.
Yeah.
Their hands are also kind of tied in a weird way.
The big thing that I want to see at this point, as far as character interactions, is I want to see Saki interacting with her parents.
Yes,
Because
I agree.
her parents were always in the situation of we're terrified that you're going to be killed or erased or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
I think that'll happen in the next 2 episodes because this was the reintroduction and setting up the monster rats.
Right.
conflict.
And granted, they probably still won't talk about work that much necessarily because it's different departments, classified info, things like that, whatever. But it's the oh, you're a peer now. We need to be worried about you anymore. It's the
It could be more candid and it could be a little
yeah,
more
exactly.
straightforward.
Yep.
But all right, y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yes, if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb,
I'm Jacob.
and we'll see you all
Next time.